on, guys? We're going to talk about something that I've been mentioning a few times during our streams. I'm going to talk about the the fears and the misunderstandings about diabetes. Now, me myself, I've been new to diabetes, as I was only diagnosed as of April of this year, where I got pancreatitis really bad, and it sped up the effects of my diabetes. Now, I'm type 1 diabetes, which means I gotta take an insulin, which is, it comes in a small vial like this, and I take what's called Novolin, which is a 70/30, which is basically, there's two types of insulin. There's some where you have to take some before every meal, and then there's also ones like this, which this one is an extended version of insulin. Now what it means is I only have to take it twice a day, so I take it once when I wake up in the morning and then once before I go to bed. Now, my early warning signs, if you guys are curious, if you should ever get checked out for diabetes or anything in that line of the disease. So my side effects first that I started noticing was a pain in my side, like just about where your kidneys are. Then I started getting dry mouth. My mouth got really dry, like your tongue literally turns into a piece of sandpaper. Your taste buds and everything get dried out and they get elevated off of your tongue. It's a weird feeling, but there's no amount of water or anything that really curbs the thirst. Another side effect is you urinate a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean I was going to the bathroom probably every 15 minutes, maybe less. And of course I had other symptoms because it wasn't just that. I had pancreatitis, and because my pancreas was inflamed, I had really bad heartburn, and because of the heartburn I was intaking a lot of milk and other dairy products to try to calm the heartburn that I was getting, because it was so bad I was actually throwing up bile. It was upsetting my stomach so bad, and I couldn't keep down any kind of solid foods or anything like that. Another side effect was fatigue. I got really tired. I didn't want to do anything. I'd wake up, I'd honestly fall asleep with a bottle of water because my mouth would get so dry so fast. So that would be another thing to look for. And you definitely want to steer clear of a lot of like heavy fructose corn syrup things like sodas, energy drinks, things like that, because your body can't process it fast enough. Like, we drink way too much sugar and way too many processed fluids that we're not supposed to intake. Our bodies are meant to take in water, and that's it. So those are definitely the signs of something you want to look out for. And I definitely recommend getting it checked out before it gets bad. So if you're not quite sure if you're experiencing any of these kind of symptoms, if you're not quite sure if it is, I would just go to your doctors and have them do a quick test of your blood sugars. It literally takes a couple seconds. You just take this, which is a little tester, which looks like this, okay? And then what you do is you take one of these little strips, like this, okay? I don't know if you can see that little focus in or not, but what it does is it reads the sugars in your blood, and you're supposed to have between 90 and 120 is where you want to be at in the normal range. And this thing is called a lancer. So what you do is this one, you pull back the handle, and that kind of cocks the little needle back. You can see the little tiny, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? Can you see the little tiny needle? There's a little tiny needle, and you cock this back, and you just take the tip of your finger and you click it, and it gives you a little tiny dot of blood, and then you stick it on the end of this like that, and it's gonna read it. Mine might be a little high right now because I just got done eating breakfast, but 85, that's actually low. But this thing is a very important tool. I have to check my blood every single day like this. So this thing for diabetics and newer diabetics is a very important tool to maintain and have at all times, really. Because one of the early warning signs also that I found out with diabetes is when your sugar is dropping, you tend to get very sleepy. Your hands, like my hands, they start to tingle, my forearms. I just overall get very fatigued. And even now I'm still kind of tired because yesterday my blood sugars were pretty high. They were up at like 245, 250, which is really high for me for the past, 3-4 months. My blood sugars have been like 93 to 120. They've been normal. So for me, I started feeling the little tingles and stuff in my fingers and whatnot. Another thing I want to talk about is, some people may fear diabetes and be like, oh no, my life's over. I got nothing. I can't live like a normal person anymore. And that's not true. Having diabetes is no different from any other everyday habits that we have, whether it be like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, driving to work. It just becomes a part of your life. You don't really pay attention to it too much. Like for me, I'm new to it. I'm already adjusted to it. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the same things that you did before. You just have to do it in moderation. Like you can still have like all the junk foods that you had before. You just can't like mouth down an entire pizza like you would before, So the fears that people may have, I can tell you personally, you shouldn't really be scared about it because it just becomes a part of your life. It's just like any other daily routine. You just wake up in the morning, you do the same things. It doesn't mean that you're any different of a person just because you're diabetic by any means. It just means you gotta, it's more so like a wake-up call. It means you gotta take better care of yourself, So one of the newer things that I personally have adapted and I'm currently moving to change in my life is I recently became a vegan. One, because of the health benefits. It's you're always eating very good, clean foods. They're very low in sugars. They help clean out your system. They let your body function the way it's supposed to. Your body doesn't digest the fats and stuff from animals and things like that as well as people think. There's a reason why you get high cholesterol and all that kind of stuff from animals. It's because you're not supposed to eat all that stuff. There's a reason why you see a lot of Asian cultures and they're always at a really healthy weight, and that's because they balance high levels of vegetables in comparison to proteins. Another reason why is because I was introduced to a documentary that really changed the way that I view the way that we eat our food and where our food comes from. Um, and if I can, I will link the description in the description down below uh, a link to that documentary if you'd care to look at it yourself. You know, you have to go in it with an open mind. You can't be too judgmental, because I know a lot of vegans, you know, catch a lot of heat from people because, you know, anything that's different or substitute for change, a lot of people snap at them and tell them, you know, that's wrong, you can't do that. And that's incorrect. You know, everybody has the right to, you know, choose what they want to eat and how they want to live. You know, that's their choice, and nobody has the right to judge them for it. So, my means for this series, I don't know how often I'm going to do it, because obviously, you know, I'm a streamer, so most of my time and effort goes into streaming, so I don't have a lot of time to do this kind of stuff, and I'm not very good at doing editing and all that kind of stuff. So, for me to do this, it's gonna probably be a fairly slow series, if not. It may not even get past this one. You know, we'll see. But I just kind of wanted to shed some light on some of the concerns that I know a lot of people had. Like, when I was in the hospital, the nurses that I had, you know, thought I was all sad and depressed because I had diabetes, and that wasn't the fact. I wasn't sad or depressed about it. You know, I kind of just take things with a grain of salt. You know, if it happens to you, it happens to you. You can't just sit there and linger and be down on yourself about it. You just gotta, you know, make the change and do something better with it. You can't just linger in sadness and feel bad for yourself, you know, because that's not going to change anything. But the only reason why I was like down in the dumps is because I was so tired. You know, I was getting poked with needles every 2 hours for the first 4 days I was in the ICU. So I was only getting maybe, on average, maybe 3.5, 4 hours of sleep a day. So I was extremely tired and crabby, you know. Plus, my hands were getting all sore, and you know, it's just, you shouldn't honestly be fearful of it. It's not anything to be scared about. It's just something you need to adjust to, and that's all. It's like I said, it's like anything else you do in the day. It's like getting in the car every morning, going to work, brushing your teeth, any kind of normal habits that you have. You just got to work it into your routine. And what I'm also going to do in this series is I'm going to also try to record myself cooking some vegan meals so you can see what I eat, to try to help keep my blood levels at a really normal plane, you know. So I try to stay away from a lot of carbs, so I don't eat a lot of breads. My main source of protein as of right now, like I said, I'm very new to vegan, so I'm still learning a lot about what foods I can use for protein and all the other essential vitamins and minerals that my body needs to function properly. So for me, I've been eating a lot of like tofu, which is actually very good. A lot of people like sit there and go, tofu, disgusting, you know, but it's actually very good. It's much like a sponge. It adheres to pretty much any flavor you add to it. It soaks up like if you put it in a broth, it soaks up the broth. It's very good. Tofu has little to no taste. It really doesn't. It honestly has, for me at least, it has kind of like a very subtle like almond taste to it. Like you ever have an almond in the aftertaste that you get? It's like that, only very subtle. It's a very soft, spongy texture. You can actually pan fry it in coconut oil, which I've done also, and it's actually very good that way too. It almost has, like when you pan fry it, it almost has like the consistency of like a feta cheese. You know how it's very crumbly and kind of delicate? It's like that. So for any like people that fear living with diabetes, you don't have to fear it. You just gotta make changes to make it better for yourself. You know, don't sit and feel sorry for yourself. You know, do something to make it better. You know, find the motivation to never go to the hospital again. You know, and that's what I do. Like, I don't want to end up going back there again. That was a nightmare. You know, so what I plan to do is, I don't know how well it's going to turn out, but I'm going to try to prepare a tofu and ramen kind of soup with a vegetable-based broth, and I'm going to make it in stages because obviously, you know, with a broth with vegetables, it takes a very long time to extract the flavors from vegetables, unlike you would with beef or chicken, because with beef or chicken you can use the bones in the water and just leave it soak there, and all the fats and all that kind of stuff would just, you know, seep into the water and create a very, you know, flavorful broth straight like that. Whereas vegetables, you actually have to like do it in steps, do it in layers, but when you're done, I promise you it's probably better than most beef or chicken or any fish sauce really that you can, or fish broth that you can come up with. So I'm going to show you the way that I cook things and what I prepare and what I like to eat. And if this helps you and gives you an idea to maybe try it for yourself, and maybe even the documentary that I'll link for you, you know, reach out for you, and you'll see that, you know, what we eat isn't exactly the picture that everybody gives you, you know, with the happy little pictures and crap that they put on the packages and stuff. You know, they're treated very cruel. They're put on conveyor belts and treated as if, you know, they don't matter. And that's not fair, because you wouldn't do that to your dog or your cat. So, to be all fairness, you know, you got to think, you know, animals like cows, chickens, pigs, sheep, goats, you know, all of them, you know, they all share the same motherly instincts that cows and, or not cows, but dogs and cats have. You know, how a mother gets protective if her children are in danger, or, you know, if you know, it starts raining or whatever, you know, they go inside to take shelter. You know, they have the same mentality as cats and dogs. You know, and I don't think it's fair or humane that they have to deal with that, you know. So, you know, honestly, I encourage you to check out the documentary and listen to what the guy says. He's very educational in the way that he explains things and lays them out on the table. You know, he doesn't sugarcoat things at all, so I mean, he's very to the point. So if you're not ready for that kind of upfrontness, it may catch you a little bit off guard. But, you know, go into it with an open mind. You know, don't shut yourself off from listening to him and be like, oh, that's a load of crap. You know, listen to the whole thing. Watch it. So yeah, I'm gonna go and prepare this soup. I'll try my best to record it the best that I can. I may do it in like steps, because I don't think I'm gonna be able to do the whole thing right as I go, because I'm gonna try to do it with my iPhone, because I don't have a camera fit for doing like vlog-esque kind of things. I don't even have a tripod. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna prepare it in steps. I'll put out the raw ingredients first. I'll take a video of that. I'll show you that. Then I'll show you steps leading up to the end result of the soup. I hope this kind of like gave you a little education into diabetes, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Any questions, I'll Be more than happy to answer them for you. As far as like the soup goes, I'm sorry there's no recipe. So if you want to follow it, you're gonna have to just watch step by step, because I don't follow cooking books. I can wing it. It's just the way that I cook. So I'll try my best to give you measurements, or guesstimations of measurements of what I'm doing. But for the most part, I just wing it and just go as I go. So, I mean, if you want to try to follow along, you know, you can pause the video at any time and, you know, write down the ingredients and try it out for yourself. So, I will see you guys in a bit, and I'll see you in the kitchen. Okay, we're in the kitchen, and these are the ingredients that we're going to be using for our soup. We have bok choy, we have our ramen noodles, there is our extra firm tofu, okay, we have our carrots, we have about a medium yellow onion, we have baby bella mushrooms, porcini mushrooms, we have 6 cloves of garlic, green onions, salt, pepper, and grapeseed oil. This is going to be the base of our soup. So the first step we're going to do is we're going to break up 1/2 of this onion, and we're going to break it down so it is roughly chopped, and we're going to get it so it's nice and soft and kind of caramelized. And as this gets soft and kind of caramelized, then we're going to add the garlic, and then we're going to add the carrots and the mushrooms, and that's going to be the base of the broth. Once these things are broken down, then what we're going to do is we're going to add 6 cups of water, and when we add the water, then we'll add in the dried porcinis and let that cook down for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'll add our greens, which is our bok choy, and then we will add, last minute, we'll probably add the tofu raw, and then I'll also do a pan fried version of that so you can see that as well. It's actually pretty easy to fry this stuff because you know, with most things that you fry, you have to do you know, an egg wash plus the breadcrumbs. Or was this, because it's got so much moisture in it, you could just dab it in flour on both sides and then just put a little oil in the pan and pan fry it on both sides. So I'm gonna go ahead and break this down, put it in the pan, and I'll show you that process when we get to it. Okay, so I just chopped up the medium onion. We got it in our pan here in the grapeseed oil, and we're just going to let this kind of break down a little bit. I ended up just putting the whole onion in here because, you know, with this being a soup and everything, I want to try to extract as much flavor in the broth as I can. And these onions are going to break down to probably more than half of this, so they're going to get very small. So what you want to do is you want to start the caramelization process of this first before you add the garlic, because if you put the garlic in now, what's going to happen is the oil will start to burn the garlic, and then it'll have a very burnt garlic taste, and that's all you'll taste. So you want to add the garlic when the onions start to get translucent, so they'll start to get clear. They don't have this like white tint to them, and that's when you want to add the garlic. Another really important thing to do is when you're cooking in general, you want to always flavor every step in which you cook. So you want to add the layers of flavor. You don't add much. You know, I just put like a couple pinches of salt, and then, you know, a little pepper. I'll do that in a minute because I can't do it with one hand. But it's very important to layer your flavors, because if you only flavor it at the end result, it's not going to it's not going to have a very balanced flavor. It's going to be very bland. So you want to try to always remember to flavor every step in what you cook, because it'll really enhance the flavors that you're trying to extract from whatever it is that you're making. So with this, we're just going to let it cook down a little bit. Get a little piece of onion skin in there. There we go. And then once this gets translucent and I add the garlic, then we'll go ahead and we'll add the mushrooms and carrots, and then we'll let this caramelize for about another 20 minutes or so. Like, making vegetable broth takes time. You're not going to get it done in about 15 minutes. So this kind of stuff you want to try to make in bulk in order for this amount of work to go in there to be worth it. So I try to make at least 6 to 7 cups of soup from this one batch, because then it'll give me about, I want to say, 2, maybe 3 days worth of food for myself, because I'm the only one that eats this. So this is looking good so far. It's already, you can already tell, like, they're starting to get very floppy, and their color is not as white as it was before. So this is a good start. We'll let these go for another 5-10 minutes, and when these start to turn clear, then I'll add the garlic and then the mushrooms, and then like I said, we'll add the carrots. And I put the carrots in with the skin and everything. You don't have to do that. I just prefer to put the skin and everything in there, because I believe the vegetable has the skin. That's probably where a majority of what's good for you is in the vegetable. So I try to always leave like skins on cucumbers and carrots and things like that to always get the max amount of nutrients that I can out of the vegetable that I'm eating. So I'm just gonna let that go for a little bit, and we will be back once I've added all the mushrooms, carrots, and garlic. Okay, and we're back, and you can see all the vegetables and stuff are starting to break down nice. So the idea of this is much like you would with a beef or chicken base, is you want this to cook down enough so that the bottom of the pan starts to get like this little, see that dark like coating on the spoon? That's what's going to give you a broth to flavor. So you really want to break this stuff down almost to a mash almost. So you can see the onions are all completely caramelized now. They're all brown and squishy. Put the mushrooms in, put the carrots in. Again, seasoned when I added the next 3 ingredients. And then while we're here, what we're going to do is take a little bit of gluten-free soy sauce that's reduced sodium, and we're going to put a little bit of that in there, and that's going to help flavor, as well as also it's going to give the broth a really nice richness to it. So this is basically what you're going to aim for when you're making this broth. And you're still going to use all these vegetables too. Don't think that we're going to be wasting these. These are actually going to be in the soup itself. It's a very thick and hearty soup. That's the way that I like my soups. I don't like the typical just broth with the vegetables on top. I like a little bit of mixture. I like to chew on whatever's in the soup. It just gives it a little bit more bite. So this is going to reduce down a little bit more, and then we're going to go ahead and add our 6 cups of water. Actually, I think we can pretty much add it now. And here's where you want to start to flavor your broth to taste. And what I mean by that is this is where you want to add your final salts and any other kind of liquids that you want to put in it to really bring out the flavor of the vegetables. And you can see already how nice and dark. I mean, obviously it's already nice and dark because the lighting in this kitchen is terrible, but you can see we got a really nice dark broth out of that base already. Okay, well, soup is just about done, as you can see. We've got a nice deep brown, delicious looking broth with all our vegetables broken down. That's our bok choy that we added. The video kind of cut out. I ran out of memory, so you're going to hear a little skipped part, but this is the end result. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys the pan-fried tofu. So like I was saying earlier, tofu comes in water, so it's already got moisture to it, so you don't have to add like egg whites and things like that. So you just need flour, which I season this with garlic salt, garlic powder, paprika, and parsley. And then you just go like this. Like that. And then just lay it in here. It's a non-stick pan, but I have a little bit of coconut oil in there just to help brown this up a little better. So you just do 2. I'm going to do 3 of these. And then I have the cubed ones right here. I've already got them cubed like that. And I'll add that directly to the soup. I only really ever do this method here for the first bowl of soup that I make. I don't know why I do it that way. It's just, I guess I just feel like I'm wasting it if I just fry all of it. Because for me, like with fried foods, if I don't eat it the same time that you cook it, it kind of doesn't have the same appeal. So you just let that go for a little bit. I'll wash my hands real quick. You can kind of see how nice and dark the soup has gotten, which is what you look for in any kind of broth-based soup like that, where you're not, you know, like processing all of what you're cooking in it into like a smooth, like tomato soup kind of consistency. So I'm pretty happy with the overall result. I didn't add any more seasoning to it when I added the bok choy into it because I had added enough salt, I believe, to cover all of it. Now with the vegetables for these, for the bok choy, I mean, you don't have to cook them as long as I did if you don't want to, if you like them a little bit crunchier, but I like them kind of on the mushy side, personally. Oops, you don't need that. Put that away in the mini bin of utensils. And then we're just going to take a quick little gander here. Let me swap that. Oh, thing's covering the thing. Hold on. Just want to get some of the Earl spreading around here. And we're just going to flip. This is a lot harder than it looks with one hand. There we go. So we're just gonna brown those up. Okay. And then we're gonna take our cubed tofu and we're gonna add this to this soup here. Now that stuff is really going to soak up the broth the longer you let it sit in there. It's like whenever you make a chili, the more you let it sit in there, the more it adheres to whatever your chili base is made of. It kind of just reacts like a giant sponge, and tofu is very much like that. So, but I definitely recommend, if you've never tried tofu, to give it a shot, because I mean, it is, it does get a pretty bad rap from a lot of people, but I can tell you, if you've never tried it, don't knock it, because it honestly is very tasty, especially when you add it to a soup like this. So when you're frying things like this, I mean, I'm like overly protected when it comes to this kind of stuff, so I constantly check on it and flip it and just make sure I don't burn it. So we're going to leave that for a little bit longer. I mean, they don't have to cook very long, you just essentially have to warm it up. So we're going to get the ramen noodles here, and I don't think this is going to work. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. I don't have a tripod, so you got to bear with me here. So we're going to get the noodles out, hopefully. Drop it down. Okay, then we'll just flop that in there. And then what we're going to do is bring this over. And you want to grab, there it is. You want to grab your ladle. And you just want to grab a bunch of broth. And just let it kind of break up the noodles a little bit so they're nice and soft. And once that kind of like breaks them down a little bit, then we'll add some of the vegetables from the soup in it, as well as our 3 pieces of tofu here. Now you don't have to have, like I said, you don't have to do this style with the soup if you don't want to. I just kind of like the crunch that this gives it to the soup, because the soup is primarily just mushy vegetables, so I mean, you could also make it so the vegetables like the bok choy and stuff are a little more on the crispier side. But I kind of like, I'm gonna put this in the microwave for a little bit. I kind of like vegetables on the mushier side. I don't know why. I just prefer that, I guess. So I'll stick that in there for a minute. It's 2 minutes. Okay. So let that go. And these are just about done. Like I said, you don't want to like cook them too long. You're just trying to heat up the tofu. You're not really trying to like treat it like it's a piece of unhealthy, nasty bacon. But that's all you want. You just want that little bit of brown on either side. Warm it up a little bit. And then, like I said, what we'll do is we'll grab some of the vegetables from in here. We'll get a couple pieces of the bok choy. We'll get some mushrooms. I also separated the bok choy, so I cut the leaves off like this, and I cut them into longer strips, and then I just left the tail end of it as it was. Just because, like I said, I like hearty soups. I don't like smooth, creamy soups all the time, Ooh, almost pulled the microwave off.
Ooh, that's hot. Okay, that's very hot. Okay, see, a time ago I would have been able to grab that out of there with my old construction hands, but they have long since been passed. That bad boy's hot. Hot, I say. Ow! I went through the towel. Okay. Set. We want to just break the noodles up. Oh, it smells good. It smells so good. So this is what I enjoy eating. I love like Asian food, basically. Like I love noodle bowls. I love sushi. I don't know. I just love that style of food. Okay, so we broke the noodles up. We're gonna come over here and grab some of our vegetables and other. All right, guys. Well, that is the finished product with the 3 pan-fried tofu, all the vegetables. We got 2 pieces of bok choy there. Finished it off with some green onion. Got some carrots, mushrooms, noodles. That is my ramen bowl, my vegan ramen bowl that I've made. Like I said, I don't do recipes. I don't follow recipes. I kind of just create my own to my own tastes. So if you'd like to give this a shot, try it out. Let me know what you think. If you need any help with the recipe as far as ingredients wise, I'll try my best to help you out. But I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory in the video, but I mean, the seasoning part is all just to taste. So that would be purely off of what you like and what everybody else might like. But that is the end result. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Try the soup out. Remember to check out that documentary if you want. And I will catch you on the next one. Take care, guys.